What's happening, guys? It's Logan Robinson from BucsGameday.com. I'm over here with Caleb Skinner, our staff writer, and also to our on-site lead editor for Bucs Game Day. Gentlemen, day 6, it should be night 6, I should say, because we're here in the IPF away from the heat. The phone will not turn off because we're here in the cool area. We have friends here. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But as you can tell, we had a lot of the fans here, a lot of energy all around, and a pretty interesting day of training camp because there was a lot of things going on left and right. It kind of started off slow a tad bit, but I think we first off need to start off with an injury at the offensive line. River Sua Opeda getting injury. Seemed to be a leg injury there on him, but you just don't like seeing that because of what the competition you have at the guard position.
For sure, it's going to be Sua Opeda and Ben Bredesen competing for that left guard spot, and obviously don't like to see some guy go down like that in that competition, especially because the Bucs, like Opeda, like Bredesen, want to see that competition develop now that we're in pads, so hopefully he is okay, and we'll get an update on that later.
Yeah, it was interesting. We saw him, go down for a little bit and then kind of walk off the field under his own power, which was good to see, but we don't really know the extent of that, and he never did return either to the sidelines or on the field, so still unknown on where things are at. We do have Bredesen there, obviously in that battle with him for that left guard position spot. So luckily enough, they have guys to be able to fill in or be able to be there in case he does miss significant time. But again, hopefully that's not the case.
And then looking outside of that, I mean, it seemed like the defense and offense had a little bit of a chippy day. It's a second day. This is the full pads day, though.
We're in
pads. Full pads day. This is how it should be. A little bit. KJ Britt, he admitted it the other day, earlier this week, or in the beginning of camp, saying he's a trash talker. He likes to be chirping, and so he was there with Gedeke, who is also a big chirper too, as well, and physical guy. Those two went at it a little bit, so that started off a little bit of not brawls, but some hands being thrown here and there.
Many things there.
It's a first day of full pads. So, but yeah, offense made some plays, some defense made some plays. But let's talk about Jalen McMillan again. I feel like we're going to probably talk about him every day moving forward. But had a really nice red zone and a corner of the end zone touchdown from him. He's just been really productive in that red zone with Baker Mayfield or whoever's at quarterback.
Absolutely. We've talked about Jalen McMillan ad nauseum. Everyone has here in the beat. We're all very impressed with him. Gotta wait until you get sort of a preseason look. But until then, I mean, all you can do is sing his praises. Great red zone catch there. Made some good catches. Got hit a few times. Welcome to the NFL. But other than that, looks really smooth. Todd Bowles just mentioned he looks really good in pads as well as out of pads. Look for him to make a pretty big impact as long as he has a really good preseason. I think he can get a lot of snaps this year.
Yeah, I was really interested to see how crisp his route running was, with full pads on, because we've been talking about, the difference between him and Trey Palmer, that battle for that wide receiver 3 spot. So being able to see it in person, full pads, and him come out here and do his things.
It looks good.
It's crispy.
Yeah,
it is really, really crispy. It's hard to come by, a player who's got routes that crisp. Not only that, but the speed that he has is kind of deceiving as well. That's just something that happens and can get lost in translation based off of, how you played in college, what kind of scheme you're in. But
for sure.
Seeing him be able to do what he has been talked about in OTAs and everything without pads, seeing it translate to the field is great. We've talked about it, ad nauseum about the fact of him and Trey being in that wide receiver 3 battle. I think there's kind of a slight edge going towards McMillan here early on in camp, but we still have a few weeks to go until we can, really solidify that position. Even though we still could see them, based off of their matchups, one of them start over the other. But for now, I think McMillan might have that slight little edge on Trey Palmer.
For sure. I agree, definitely. Maybe a little bit more than slight, but we'll see how it goes.
It's been impressive, man. It really has, and I said it up there when we were up there in the bleachers watching. Jalen McMillan, it's his to lose at this point to me, and it's crazy to say that because it's so early, first day pads and everything like that. But this kid is everywhere.
He looks impressive.
He's connecting so well with Baker Mayfield, and it's been that way since we first saw him in rookie minicamp.
And that's because he's already playing with the ones, by the way.
Yeah,
so that that's already where he is and where he's living on this team. So impressive.
Yeah. Catch of the day though might be catch of camp so far potentially. Rakim Jarrett.
Climbing the ladder, getting up there in the back corner of the end zone. Great catch by Rakim Jarrett.
He comes down with those. He's a physical wide receiver.
He
has range.
Did some really good stuff in I believe, OTAs.
Yep.
For sure, in some team drills. So now he's showing out here with a really nice catch in the back corner of the end zone that way. It'll be fun to see where he fits into this offense, especially because there's a lot of young wide receiver talent still coming into this Tampa Bay team. You know, you got to make a name for yourself that way too.
There was some interceptions. It was really mainly on one here that we'll, talk about the most. But it's
someone
Baker Mayfield.
Who tends to get him a lot in camp.
Baker has a guy that is after him in the interception farm, but. Tavier Thomas here with an interception.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and you saw that the other day from him. He just puts himself in the right spots, and that helps, so he's a veteran. So
absolutely. We've had 6 training camp practices. He's got 3 picks. That's a pretty good hit rate, especially because the nickel corner position is a really big competition. Looking like Tyke Smith's probably going to, be really in there, but for someone who isn't named as much next to Tyke Smith, he's making a name for himself, making these plays. 3 picks, always around the ball. Veteran player, came from Houston, played in Cleveland. So it's going to be hard to deny him if he keeps playing like this in camp for sure.
Which is tough too, because now it's a 3-man race.
Yeah,
really,
Izzian,
because now we talk about Christian Izzian as well, and it was thought of as like mainly a 2-guy race, maybe to start. Now Tavier, with how he has performed through 6 days of camp, he's playing tremendous. It just looks like he knows where the ball is going.
Absolutely.
And being able to do that, especially when you're going up against, QB1 and Baker Mayfield, being able to read where he's coming from, where he's going with the ball, drive on that, know that it's going to be there, and use those hands to be able to pick off the pass cleanly and then take it the other way is huge. And that's exactly what Todd Bowles is looking for this year.
Absolutely.
Is those turnovers.
Yeah, big time. As long as you can get your hands on the ball and get yourself in the position to make those plays, that's what this Todd Bowles defense is looking for, and it looks like they're getting to it in training camp. We'll see if it continues in the preseason, but that's going to be important.
One thing that's been consistent as well is penalties, and I think this offense and this team is getting used to Liam Cohen's offense. There's a lot of motion happening. There's guys moving around, and you can just tell that some of the tackles, even the tight ends, guys in motion, wide receiver, running backs, there's just been a lot false starts, guys illegal motion, a lot of things going on there where it's kind of hurting them in some regard in drives, and where you see 2-minute offense to end off practice. And some things too with Barton as well, some bad snaps. We saw that there on the last drive with Baker Mayfield with the starting unit, and those bad snaps kind of put them in some tough situations there, and that's obviously going to happen on Sundays if that doesn't get figured out. But just seeing some consistencies there that you got to see improvement as we head into the second week of training camp, River.
Absolutely. That's going to be a big thing going forward. Got to get disciplined. A little bit easier. Yeah, I do love some at-snap motion. I do. But here in the indoor practice facility, definitely easier to be disciplined when it's not so hot. But got to work on it throughout training camp.
Yeah, it's just another one of those pointers that, Todd Bowles has mentioned to us, since OTAs, is he's wanted to create those turnovers on defense, and then he's wanted to knock down on some of the penalties that they've had coming over from last year. So I know it's early, but it's coming up. We've got about a little over a month until the regular season does begin. You still got these preseason games to kind of work those kinks out. Having the refs here is huge, obviously, and that helps with being able to point out to these guys where they are going wrong when they do make these mistakes and these penalties. So got to get cleaned up. Hopefully, next week the guys are going to start slowing down a little bit. Speed is going to start catching up to a lot of these guys, and maybe these mistakes won't happen as often as they have early on, but definitely something to keep an eye on as we progress throughout training camp.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Instant Reaction, whatever we're going to be calling this. But I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We'll have one. The guys are off on Wednesday. We'll be back here Thursday morning for you guys, wrapping up everything from day 7 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Appreciate everybody watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It would deeply be appreciated. And we'll see you guys Thursday afternoon.
Let's do it.